Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of Major General Richard A. Harrison, Commanding General, 32nd Army Air and Missile Defense Command, welcome to today's ceremony. Today, we gather to observe the promotion of Colonel Curtis W. King to the rank of Brigadier General. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party, the playing of our national anthem, and the invocation given by Chaplain Steelman.
I invite you to join me in prayer. Almighty and most sovereign Father, we praise you for the blessings of liberty, for our families, and for the calling to serve our country. We ask that you would teach us and direct our lives as we serve our country and care for those we love. We thank you for the leadership, service, and care that Colonel King has given to the air defense community, the Army, and his family. Ask that you would bless him with continued wisdom and strength and a spirit of service as he continues to provide leadership. We ask that his leadership would be an example of how to serve and care for others. Continue to use him and his family to support and care for the air defense community. We ask that you would watch over our brothers and sisters in arms who are deployed and bring them home safely to us. And we ask all this in your most holy name. Amen.
Please be seated. At this time, Sergeant Tristan Burke from the Fort Sill Artillery Half Section is presenting a bouquet of red roses to his wife Kim, a yellow rose to his mother Connie, his mother-in-law Velma, his daughter Arabella, and his two sons Hayden and Tate will be receiving two special cards. At this time, we would like to extend a warm welcome to the following distinguished guests. Major General Phil Brooks, Commanding General, United States Army Fire Center of Excellence in Fort Sill, and his wife Lori. Command Sergeant Major Neil Sartain. Command Sergeant Major, the United States Army Fire Center of Excellence in Fort Sill. The Honorable Stan Booker, Mayor, City of Lawton. Lieutenant General Retired Stan Green. Mr. Michael Brown, Civilian Aide to the Secretary of the Army, Oklahoma South. Mr. Kevin Offel, Civilian Aide to the Secretary of the Army, Oklahoma North. Mr. Steve Carson, Field Representative for Senator Jim Langford. Mrs. Katie Morgan. Mrs. Lisa Crooks. Brigadier General Retired Randall McIntyre. Brigadier General Retired Dan Frick. Councilman Kelly Harris, Lawton City Council, Ward 2. Mrs. Carrie Parker. Command Sergeant Major Giancarlo Macri, Command Sergeant Major of the United States Army Air Defense Artillery School. Command Sergeant Major Paul Fluharty, Command Sergeant Major of the United States Army Field Artillery School. And our frontier friends, Colonels retired, Colonel Albert Johnson and Nate Slate. We would also like to welcome all of our Colonel King's families members, close personal friends that are here to share in this very special occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, Major General Richard Harrison.
Take my card to the floor. What an honor it is to be here today. I thought the delay in the music, I was going to have to sing the national anthem. I was warming up back there, but I'm glad it kicked in. I want to say good morning again and welcome to all the distinguished guests that was just named out. I don't want to take time listing everyone's name, but thank you for being here today on this special occasion, celebrate the promotion of my good friend Curtis King to Brigadier General and to his entire family. What an honor it is to be here officiating this ceremony. I'm going to have a flow today in terms of speaking about his family first, talk about Curtis and I, a couple of adventures that he and I had together. It'll be about 10% truth and 90% embellishment, favoring me, obviously, the better of the two, and then I'll close with some big brother advice. Really, I want to start by saying and introducing Curtis's wife, Kim. Kim has been married to Curtis almost 28 years. God bless you, Kim. He is the most frugal guy that I know. They were telling me a story when we were up there in the kind of waiting room. They had the green room, we'll call it. And they told the story about how Curtis planned a vacation for the family. And he reserved a double-wide 1982 trailer for the family to stay in, and it was terrible. They couldn't close the back door. The front door had a big hole in it, and Curtis, being the cheap guy that he is, only had like one adventure for the family to do. It was a kayak with a hole in it. I can only imagine, Kurt, how frugal you are. But yet, Kim stays with you, and God bless her for that. Now, the story here on my note card says that Kim met Curtis in high school. It also says that Kim pursued Curtis and begged him to date her. I find that highly unlikely. I think this note card was tampered with. But nonetheless, I think she felt sorry for Curtis. He probably had a pocket protector. He probably had glasses with tape on it. He probably sat by himself in the lunchroom, and she went over there just to make friends with that lonely guy to the side. And just look at him now, Kim. You made him a Brigadier General. So congrats to you. Round of applause for Kim King. Now, to this great union, the first child born was Arabella. She's 21 years old. She's pursuing her master's in applied behavioral analysis from Liberty University. She also recently got engaged to a young man named Dylan Reese. So I told Dylan that Arabella has a 2-star uncle, 1-star dad, and 2 big, strong brothers. So he better not cross any lines. He's going to take care of Arabella as they go forward, soon to be in holy matrimony. So just keep an eye on Dylan, guys. He may sprint out of here pretty quickly at the end of this ceremony. Next, Hayden. Their son Hayden, 19 years old, pursuing a degree at University of Kentucky in mechanical engineering. It says here he has a 4.0 his first semester in college. An amazing feat. Clearly he has Kim's brains and not Curtis's. Curtis has a hard time counting without his shoes off. So I know that that's Kim's brain that allowed Hayden to attain that 4.0 his first semester. So thanks, Kim, for again gracing us and blessing Hayden with your brains and not Curtis's. And last but certainly not least, there's young man Tate, 17 years old. Currently Tate is the only kid left in the house. So he's the big man in the Hurley house. He picked the largest room that he could because his sister and brother weren't there, and he is enjoying being the only child left in the house. My son Colin feels the same way. I'm telling you, being the last kid is something special, and you enjoying we call the prosperous years of our parents' profession. My oldest daughter came along in the poor years, and I was a lieutenant, so she had a small room. My middle daughter came around when I was a captain. Her room was slightly bigger. And Colin came around when I'm the biggest household post. So he's probably in the prosperous years. And also, Curtis has a lot of family members here. Miss Connie King, Kurt's mom, is here. Her husband, Johnny McDonald, they're from Kentucky. I think the half state of Kentucky is here today because I'm going to list off about a few more people from Kentucky. I think everyone came for Curtis's promotion. Probably they couldn't believe it's going to happen. So, Kurt's brother Cliff King is here. His wife Jody, their kids Emerson and Alex, they're here from Kentucky. His in-laws Jeff and Velma Wilcox, the parents of Kim, they're here from, you guessed it, Kentucky. And also Kim's grandmother, Mrs. Joyce Wilcox, and she's here from Kentucky. Curtis also has uncle and aunt here, Sergeant Major retired Jim and Sandy Baxter, and you're right, they're from Kentucky. Glad to have everyone here. He also has a host of classmates from class of 1996 at West Point. So several, too many to name, but they're probably here too. They can't believe that he got promoted to 1-star. So they're here to witness that miraculous day here, kind of like the birth of Jesus. As I mentioned, Curtis and Kim, they grew up in Central City, Kentucky. You can imagine that. They met in high school, like I mentioned. The note card says Kim pursued Curtis, but I think it's the other way around. She felt sorry for him. But I will tell you, I've known Kim since 2007. And as a military spouse and as a mother, she's been outstanding. Please join a round of applause for Kim again for being a wonderful military spouse. I've seen her at FRG meetings, Santa's workshop there at Fort Cavazos now, and several senior spouse seminars. She's been there carrying the torch for the military spouses and has been a wonderful addition to any organization, any team that she's a part of. She's putting her shoulder to the grind, and I appreciate that. Now, when you're looking at the note card here, it says that I always ask people, why'd you join the Army, or why'd you stay in the Army? And Curtis's note card reflected that back then, Brigadier General Lennox told Curtis to stay in the Army until you command. After you command and have responsibility of soldiers and resources under your belt, then you make the decision to stay in the Army. And 24 years later, Curtis is here in the Army, and we're glad that he stayed. So again, great advice from a great mentor that said stay in the Army and don't get out, Curtis. Moving on, now Curtis has some unique hobbies. Curtis likes to follow me around in assignments. Imagine that. You know, it's like a little brother wants to follow the big brother and be like him. So Curtis followed me as the commander of 69th ADA Brigade. Now, he also followed me with a slight gap as the DCO for the 108 Brigade. That was about a 2-month gap. So technically he followed me in that job too, but we won't count that one because Curtis is safe. But he also followed me as the 45th Commandant of the Air Artillery School and the Deputy Commanding General of Fort Sill. So again, Curtis is cleaning up my messes. So thanks a lot, Kurt, for falling behind me and cleaning things up. As you see in Kurt's bio, he's commanded at multiple levels across our Army. I encourage you to read his bio because it's pretty impressive. You know, from troop units to the Pentagon and to deployments, he's excelled in every measurable area in his career, and his bio really tells a story. There's one other thing here, and I asked Kurt about his milestone, most memorable milestone in his career. Now, his aide, who printed out my speech today, took out the word second. Kurt commanded the 2nd best battalion in Air Defense Artillery, and I commanded the 1st. Kurt commanded 1780A, and I commanded 3480A. But his aide, again, I caught that because I'm a 2-star, I catch things like that. He took out the word second when he printed my speech, so I'll talk to you later, Lieutenant. I remember I was there, it was the 2nd best battalion in our branch. But Kurt, I am truly honored to officiate your ceremony today, my friend. When you asked me, I was shocked. Soldiers can pick anyone they want to promote them and be a part of their ceremony. They typically pick someone that they admire, they look up to, and I'm humbled that Kurt chose me. Okay, who are we kidding? I was in town, and Kurt's like, hey man, you wanna come by and do this? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. But no, seriously though, I was in town and he asked me, but thanks again. You could have asked anyone, tons of mentors, and you chose to ask me, and I appreciate it. Kurt and I first met at Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty, North Carolina in 2007 in the battalion, the best battalion in the United States Army, 3488R. Kurt was the Battalion S3 and I was the Battalion XO, and we stayed in those jobs for 2 years. Normally you switch, but we stayed in those jobs for 2 years, and man, we worked extremely well together. We didn't have the typical infighting that majors have in the battalion. We used our strengths for good to push the battalion forward, and I appreciate that, Kurt. I appreciate your loyalty and your friendship and the teamwork we had there in some unique times in that battalion's history. I got a few stories I'm going to share with you, and again, they're about 10% truth, because I'm telling the story is going to favor me. but Kurt does speak second, so if he says anything, just disregard it. I'm a 2-star, he's a 1, it doesn't count. There's a story about being lost on the drop zone. Again, Curtis was the S3, I was the XO. We were executing a night airborne operation, and we both exited the aircraft, high-performing aircraft, might I add, at Mach speed, and we proceeded to be delivered to the ground. And when we hit the ground, we were taught to put on our night vision goggles and put our weapon into operation. We went to put our night vision goggles on, and we didn't check that we had batteries in there. So it was really dark on the drop zone that night, and we had no batteries in our nods, and we couldn't find each other, and more importantly, we couldn't find the rally point. But after walking aimlessly around the drop zone in the dark, we managed to bump into each other. I said, "Hey, who is that?" He says, "Kurt, man." I said, "Hey, where's the rally point?" He said, "Man, I don't know." I said, "I don't know either. Let's just walk around until we figure it out." So we'll walk around to every rally point out there going, "Hey, is this 3480A? No, it's the engineers. Who are you guys? We're privates." We didn't want to tell them we were majors. And we were lost. We go to the next rally point. "Hey, 3480A? No, this is the artillery guys. Who are you guys? We're PFCs." Get promoted each time. After about 30 minutes of walking around the drop zone, going to every rally point, we finally find the rally point that our unit is at, and we walk up and they, "Hey, where you guys been? It's 30 minutes late. We were looking for you guys. We meant to make sure no one's left on the drop zone, no one got hurt." We didn't tell them we were lost. But that is the story. We were lost. At least Kurt was lost. I wasn't lost. I was there for his moral support. Again, my story, I can tell it like I want. We also spent numerous hours devising plans how to shape our battalion commander. Kurt's office was away from the battalion commander's office. Mine was right next door, so we couldn't plan and devise our scheme up there. So we go back to his office and we tried to, get our way with the battalion commander. I remember one time the battalion commander brought in this huge op order that he produced when he was an S3. He said, "Hey guys, here's an op order you can use." We both looked at each other, it was like, "That thing is too big. We are not using that thing." We cut it down to 1 page. We felt that we can do what we need to do in 1 page versus the 75 pages that he presented to us. But that was our way of doing business. We always wanted to look at how best to take care of our formation and let our commander know that he's in charge, but we kind of run the show. We also had a memorable moment sitting behind the commander's desk with our feet up on it one day taking photos when he was on leave. If you're watching Rob Lines, I'm sorry. It's finally coming out, but anyway, we didn't mean any disrespect by it. But Kurt truly embodied, enough of the stories, Kurt truly embodies character, competence, and commitment to our Army and to our Army values and of course to his family. He's simply a leader. There's no finer leader than Kurt. He's the right leader in the right time and to be the commandant leading our branch to the most historic change and modernization that we've undertaken in our branch's history. So again, the Army has gotten it right by putting the right leader in the right time and giving him the right rank and authority to do that job. So we are truly proud of you. And again, my best friend for 17 years, man, it's been an honor to be here with you today to promote you to 1 star. In closing, some big brother advice. Never miss an opportunity to meet and engage with soldiers and make it a positive engagement with a general officer. It may be the last time or the first time they're going to see a general officer, and make it a positive engagement when you do that. Next one is use your rank for good. Make sure you mentor the next generation behind us to grow those young folks to take our place one day. And the last thing, Kurt, continue to be a good person, man. It's your superpower, and it has gotten you to this day to be promoted to Brigadier General. So let's put the stars on Kurt now. Thank you.
At this time, Colonel King and his family will now join Major General Harrison for the promotion.
Publish the orders.
Department of the Army, Headquarters, Human Resource Command, Order number 7100795. The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of Curtis W. King. In view of these qualities and his demonstrated potential for increased responsibility, he is therefore promoted in the United States Army from Colonel to Brigadier General effective 3 February 2024. When our Army began in 1775, general officers wore distinctive colored sashes indicative of their rank. In June 1780, George Washington issued an order that Brigadier Generals wear were to wear gold epaulets, each with a single silver star. Today, the General Officer Star remains the oldest rank insignia still worn by the officers of our armed forces. At this time, Brigadier General King's family will replace the shoulder boards and epaulets. The Brigadier General rank they are using is being handed down from Major General retired Clem Coward. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The history of the General Officer's Belt dates back to World War II with an order by the Army Chief of Staff that the belt be issued to all general officers. The thick black leather belt with an 18-karat gold-plated buckle and an imprint of an eagle was first produced in 1944. Today, the occasion and uniform with which the belt is worn are at the discretion of the general officer. At this time, Brigadier General retired Randall McIntyre will present Brigadier General King with the General Officer Belt. Since World War II, the Army has also issued each newly promoted general officer a sidearm for personal protection. The manufacturer of the Army Standard Service Revolver produces a special issue for general officers that has a slightly nicer finish and a serial number beginning with GO. At this time, Mrs. Kay Montgomery will present Brigadier General King with his personal sidearm. It is not loaded. Throughout the history of warfare, a general officer's personal flag has symbolized leadership on the battlefield. Command Sergeant Major Giancarlo Macri is uncasing the one-star flag, representative of an Army Brigadier General, first authorized by the War Department in August 1903. General officer flags were used by officers of the United States Army when making official visits to Navy vessels. In 1923, the use of the flags was further expanded to include automobile flags and field office flags. In 1947, the Deputy Chief of Staff for Personnel authorized all general officer flags except medical corps and chaplain flags to be scarlet with white stars. At this time, Major General Harrison will now administer the oath of office.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name. Have been appointed officer in the United States Army in the rank of Brigadier General. Do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, that are well and faithfully discharged the duties of the office upon which I'm about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations, Brigadier.
Major General Harrison has deferred his presentation honors in honor of Brigadier General King's promotion. For the benefit of our distinguished guests who have not previously had the opportunity to observe the rendering of honors, it is appropriate that a brief explanation of the historical significance of this part of the ceremony be given. During this part of the ceremony, ruffles and flourishes will be played. The earliest use of ruffle and flourishes can be traced to the time of England's Lord Marlborough, who used kettle drums to announce his arrival. English colonists brought the tradition to the colonies during the French and Indian War, when 2 ruffles and present arms were given for Virginia's royal governor. In 1776, the Continental Army authorized a fife and drum unit to give 2 ruffles for a major general and 1 for a brigadier general. Current practice is to play ruffles equal to the number of stars a general officer possesses. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation and honors. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and distinct pleasure to present to you Brigadier General Curtis W. King.
All right, sir. I just got to start out now. So he got to go first. I told him I got to go second on some of these stories. And I'll just start. I think all these people here are not just to see about me. I think they're to see about both of us. I think they may be surprised that both of us are where we are. Look, so honored to see everyone here today. Our distinguished guests and distinguished visitors that are here, friends and family. And then, like I said, I think a lot of you just showed up to see if this was happening, not just for me, but for Major General Harrison as well, especially those that have known us for a while. But let me start to thank some people, and I want to start with the people that helped set this up. And you hear this all the time, and you hear us mention the people that do this. But I'll tell you, I walked up here yesterday for the rehearsal with Major General Harrison, and I saw a lot of people moving around and doing some things, and it began to dawn on me the significance of today. And General Harrison gave me some really good, advice and guidance about how significant today is. And to all the team that helped put this together, the protocol team, the public affairs team that helped, the half section. I'll tell you that Mr. Corey Hillinger is really glad he didn't bring horses in today, but thanks for still bringing that honor and that tradition here to the chaplain, to the salute battery. The salute battery, we moved the location from the normal location, but they adapted as any good soldiers do, and found the right location to render honors as they always do. And to the band, the 77th Army Band, you're always outstanding. and we really appreciate everything. To the 30th Brigade team as well, all of you all that helped put this together, really amazing. And the other people and group of people and organization that I want to represent is the training support facility. And I mentioned Corey's name, but Corey Tillinger and his team here, that any of you that had been here 18 months ago or 2 years ago with this facility, where we are, the progress that they have made and the honor and the tradition that they bring to not just themselves, but to represent coastal artillery, anti-aircraft artillery, air defense artillery in this facility and where we are is truly amazing. And I hope you get a chance to walk around and see some of the things they do, because it's not just about the equipment. Get to walk around and read the stories, and especially when you enter the front door. And if you didn't get to see that when you came in, that's the Battle of the Philippines. One, that's where air defense got its motto, first to fire. But also those soldiers, many of those soldiers became part of the Bataan Death March. And that's our history, that's our lineage. And Corey and his team not just bring the equipment to life, but they bring the stories of those that came before us to life. And I'll just say, but when you look at today, and you look at the role of air defense in the world today and everything that we're doing, our soldiers are doing with the growth of ballistic missiles and cruise missiles and drones, those soldiers are doing the same thing they've done for the past hundreds of years. And it's truly amazing. And this facility that they put on allows us to remember the stories before us, but to look forward and recognize all that the great's going to be done going forward. So, but again, thanks to you all. Let's please give them a round of applause for what they put on. So let me go to my family before I forget and get going. Let me talk a little bit about my family. So I will say, Major General Harrison, I think the script was written correctly. I remember being pursued. But I don't know. But honey, if you say it's the other way, you are right. I learned that lesson after 27 years. You're right. I am wrong. But let me start. With my mom and brother and his family. My dad passed away many years ago now, but my mom and dad raised us. We were raised on a farm, and we learned the value of hard work, and then my mom taught us the value of faith, and really instilled that in us. And my brother and his family today still carry on the farming tradition. Many people always ask me why I joined the military. Well, when I was 17 years old, one of the reasons I joined the military was to not farm anymore. I tell you, but it's truly amazing the values that they instilled in both of us, and then really to my brother, what he and his family do as farmers today. There's some hard work. There's really some hard work in there. So thank you all, not just for being here, but for shaping me early on. So to my wife and kids. So Kim and I have been married a little bit a long time now, But and General Harrison, he joked about Kentucky, but it's not just Kentucky. I promise you, I do a little genealogical research. We're not related, but we live about 15 minutes apart. Our families are from the same area, and our families have been in that same area for about 100 to 150 years. But I've done DNA testing. We're not related. Not even third cousins twice removed. We're not. But when we did get married, Kim and I got married. She finished school. She was working. We got married right after Christmas, and immediately went to Germany. So I picked her up from Kentucky, middle of nowhere, Kentucky, and he grew up from the country, and moved her right to Germany. I think she was in culture shock for about the first 4 years, probably of our marriage, trying to figure out what was going on, what the heck had we done, what was she doing. But I tell you, she committed all in, and to see, and Joe Harrison mentioned, but to see her dedication and devotion to our soldiers and our families, not just to me and my family, but to our soldiers and families and all that she gives, it's amazing. And she truly loves, the Army. Sometimes I got to readjust myself because she loves the Army so much, and I'm like, man, she's more motivated than I am. I got to up my game. It is truly amazing. So, baby, I love you. Really do. And to our kids, I'm so proud of you. Though you should have paid more attention in the rehearsal this morning, putting on the epaulets, but thank you so much for everything you do, and I'm really so proud of you. Joe Harrison, he won't repeat where you are in school and what you're doing, but it's amazing. I'll tell you, he mentioned my daughter just got engaged to Dylan. Sometimes you're growing up too fast for your mom and I, but we love you, everything you do. Really proud of you, really proud of you. But that's the foundation. That's been the foundation, is that family is the foundation. And I'll talk a little bit about some more people and groups of people in my Army career, but that made the foundation. That's what set the foundation for who I am, just as many of you all are. But that's important that we remember that as we go on. It's that family connection is so important to who we are and what we do. So I want to mention two people. Again, I'm not going to mention a lot of names today because I'll forget somebody. But I want to mention two people, and General Harrison mentioned one of them that really helped shape me. And one was Major General retired Clem Coward, and you heard that he donated, or not donated, gave me his rank that he wore. But and these two people, General Coward was in the latter half of my career. Really, when I met him as air defenders, we kind of met late in our careers. As he was a brigade commander and I was a battalion commander. But he really put a lot of work into me, helped develop me and mentor me throughout from battalion command, brigade command, and put his faith and trust in me. And I think he's going to be able to listen online today. But sir, do you thank you for all that you did, and really thanks, for also providing that rank to me, identifying your trust in me and where I was and the potential that I had. And the other was Lieutenant General retired Lennox. And it's true. As many officers today, non-commissioned officers, I wasn't decided if I was going to stay in or not. I was on that fence. Am I going to get out or not? And just as General Harrison said, then Brigadier General Lennox, we were walking through old Building 2. Any of you those at Fort Sill? I forgot why, but we were walking through Fort Sill, and Fort Bliss and Building 2, and I was with him, and he was asking me what I was going to do, and I was giving him the typical, I don't know, sir, I may get out, all the typical stuff, and he goes, go command. And then you can make an informed decision, and you'll know what the Army's about. Well, that brings me to I know what the Army's about. That was team. That was the team. And that brings me, to the team. You can't have a ceremony without a Fires 50. So, right? You can't have that. So life is better with great teammates. Life is better with great teammates, and then get better every day, make yourself better, and make the team better. And that's, even though I didn't know the Fires 50 back then, that's what General Lennox had set me towards, and that was 24 years ago. And so, with that team, I got to recognize one of the group that's here that's early on in my career, and that's the For Freedom We Risk group. My classmates from class of '96. Many that live in this area that came down. So great to see you all. What an honor and privilege to have you all here today. With our class. As you get older, for years we kind of maybe didn't connect and everything, but it's so important to stay connected and have you all here today, and really appreciate that. And and Mr. Kevin O'Fell, the CASA that was mentioned, he's also our class president. And the work he does to keep us connected and to keep that family together is amazing. Because I don't know how he does it. But I got to recognize two of my really good friends that I met that we've been together. Tim Johnson and I were our day squad mates. For those that our day, that's our reception day. So that's basically day one of basic training. We're wearing core frame shoes, black socks pulled up to our knees, 1980s basketball shorts, and white shirts that didn't fit with tags hanging all off of us. And then didn't know what was going on, made it through the first day, only to probably about 4 o'clock in the morning wake up to Welcome to the Jungle and trash cans flying into the room and people yelling at us, going, what the heck did we sign up for? But that was my day one buddy. And then Mr. John Frick, who was a member of our first company together, Go Hogs, all the way back then. I mean, just lifelong, but the point of that is lifelong friends. So any of you, wherever you are at the point in your career, that connection that you have to making lifelong friends is so amazing. So how do you get to this point? Again, it's team. You don't get here by yourself. And I'll tell you, there's I want to talk about a group right now, and that's our non-commissioned officers. And what happens when you're a lieutenant and you graduate? I always say OBC, now it's BOLIC, I know. But you get paired with the platoon sergeant. And when you hear senior leaders talk about some of the United States' strategic advantage, especially our military strategic advantage, one of the things they always talk about is our non-commissioned officer corps. Because that's who trains us, that's who leads us, and that's who fights at the tactical edge. Well, I'll tell you, getting to this rank made me do a lot of thinking about where I was and who would help me get there. And I actually reached out to my very first platoon sergeant, Sergeant First Class Harold Curtis. And just amazing. And I knew Sergeant First Class Curtis was good, but looking back, I realized how good he really was. And to train and develop me as a person, as a leader, he did a lot. There was a lot of shaping to be done. There's one story that I remember. Had to run. We got deployed to Saudi Arabia. Young lieutenant. I'd only been in the Army like 8 months. Got tasked to run a range in Saudi. I'd never run a range before, let alone in Saudi. I didn't know what to do. Well, here's the thing. I don't remember anything about running that range. I don't remember anything about it. You know why? Because I had Sergeant First Class Curtis and the other NCOs that took care of me, told me what to do, set me up for success. The one thing I do remember, though, is, and I hope he's listening. He said he was going to listen today. One thing I do remember, if you met with the Saudis, we didn't know this. It was the summer. It was 115 degrees. You know what we had to do? We had to drink hot tea. Scalding hot tea. So we did that once. We went back again. Sergeant First Class Curtis looks at me and goes, "Sir, I ain't drinking that tea." I go, No, we got to. They told us in cultural training, we have to do everything like that. He goes, "Sir, I ain't drinking that tea." So of course they came around. Would you like some tea, Sergeant First Class? I take the tea and I'm like, oh man, this is going to burn. Sergeant Curtis goes, no, thank you. And they go, "Oh, would you like a Pepsi?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." Well, they look at me. He looks at me, he goes, "Oh, sir, I got you. Give me a nice cold Pepsi." They brought out a hot Pepsi. They didn't have ice. So Sergeant Curtis, if you're listening, that's what I remember. I didn't have to worry anything about running that range because you took care of it, but I also remember you got it. That Pepsi didn't have any ice in it, so you had to drink that hot Pepsi. But it just continued from there. And one other person that I definitely want to recognize and group of people that I want to talk about, Command Sergeant Major Joel Gutierrez that's here today. He was my battalion command team buddy in the best air defense battalion in the Army, the No Fear Battalion 1788. But just again, that pairing of someone that you knew, a confidant that you could trust, and take care of you, train you, lead you, because you're always getting developed. You're always getting, you got to get better. That goes back to that Fires 50 truism. You got to get better. But I tell you what, we had an awesome team, and I know some of that team, that No Fear team's listening today, and I'm so proud of them. They're at the point now that those battery commanders that we had are getting ready to take battalion command. Many of the first sergeants have already been sergeant majors, command sergeant majors, lieutenants, or S3s, XOs out there right now. What a great team. Just what a great team. And the other group that I want to recognize just briefly is the civilians. As many of us, we probably don't serve with civilians that much until we get further on in our career. And that was me. Until I was probably lieutenant colonel, I didn't serve with many civilians. But now, in the last really 10 years, I've served with Joint Staff, OSD, Army Staff, and ForceCom, especially the ForceCom Plans team. And now here at the Fire Center of Excellence, especially with my team here at the 88 Commandant's office. What an amazing group of people, dedicated to service. And I'll tell you, as many of you all know, the Army would not run. Any service you pick, it wouldn't run without those civilians. And thank you for everything that you do every day to keep our running Army and to support our soldiers. It is tremendous what those civilians do out there. And what I'll do, really, just in closing, I want to talk about one other group. And so I've talked about who's shaped, who's developed me, throughout my career. But I want to talk. There's a lot of discussions going on now about Millennial, Generation X, Generation Z. Are they going to have the commitment to serve or not that previous generations have had? And those are good discussions. Those are valid discussions that we need to have. But I'll tell you that Kim and I had the privilege and honor to go back to my old high school, our old high school, back in September and visit with the JRTC program in the high school and talk to high school kids and the Muhlenberg County Mustang JRTC program. I'll tell you what, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. And I know they were going to try to listen today. That dedication, that pride that they have, that commitment to service. Not all of them may serve in the military, but that commitment to serve and be part of a winning team. They want to be part of a winning team. I'm not worried about the future generation. we may fluctuate in our numbers a little bit about our strength. They want to win. They know what it means. And to them, thank you, because again, you re-energized me a little bit. You know, every now and then we all need a little motivation, and you gave me that motivation. But again, to everybody, for those that were here to see if it happened, it happened. It happened. And you know, Major General Harrison, it truly is. You know, we've been friends for a long time. One of the things that I'll say about us, I know people say about him that he smiles and he's happy a lot. I've heard some say that about me. I don't know if everybody says that, but if you heard those stories about 3-4, you know why we smile all the time? Because we're not majors looking for the Steiner aid and 3-4-88 anymore. We moved on. That's why we're so happy. So to all those majors out there, we know your pain. This is what you get to look at after being a major. You get to smile all the time after being a major. But to everybody, thank you so much. You know, thank you so much for participating, for being here. It is truly an honor, and hopefully, you know, I was able to relay that, you know, being here today is a reflection of all those that have come before, mentored, guided, and then those others that are still out there fighting and growing. Because General Harrison said it best: you got to develop the next generation. You got to develop the next set of leaders to get there. So, you know, we'll have a reception over the 88 Association. If you're able to make it, please come over. But then also, please, on your way out, spend some time looking at some of these exhibits too. Not just about the equipment, but about the soldiers and the stories that are associated with those that come before us. So to everybody, thank you. Great to see you here. Truly is first fire.
Come on back, sir. At this time, First Lieutenant Garrett King from the Salute Battery is presenting Brigadier General King with a canister representing the first round fired in his honor as a general officer. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the Air Defense Artillery March and the playing of the Army Song. On behalf of Major General Harrison, thank you for attending today's ceremony. Brigadier General King cordially invites you to the reception, which will begin shortly in the Air Defense Artillery Association, Building 747, Geronimo Road. You may congratulate Brigadier General King and his family in front of the seating area. First to fire, fire strong, people first, winning matters, be all you can be.
Great.